My mom used the rent money I gave her and got us evicted while I was on vacation. When I got home, there was an eviction notice on our door and my keys didn't work. I thought the manager made some kind of mistake until I called my mom. She brushed it off, saying that it wasn't serious and that I abandoned her. And just like that, I was starting my life over from scratch. Growing up, my mom was the kind of person who could be two things at once. She always had a story and liked to call herself a free spirit, but she could also make me feel like I was crazy for remembering things the way they actually happened. She'd promise to pick me up at 3 p.m., then show up at 4:15 and tell me the clock in the school office was wrong. She'd say, "We'll get ice cream Friday if you pass that test." Then say on Friday, I never said Friday. I said someday. When I saved $70 from babysitting in 8th grade and tucked the cash into a pink pencil case, she borrowed it for gas and groceries and told me later, "You're so dramatic about money." If I pushed back, she'd twist it. "You hate helping your own mother?" Wow, it was just the two of us. My dad left before I even started remembering things. When I asked, she'd say he wasn't cut out for family life, and then change the subject. Most days, it was me and mom and a TV dinner on the coffee table. On good days, she sang along to the radio and let me steer the shopping cart. On bad days, she slept late and said the world was unfair, and I learned to be quiet and clean the kitchen without asking. I was a plain kid in her words. "You're not a makeup girl, that's fine." Dark hair, dark eyes, straight teeth because the school clinic had a program for braces. My mom had lighter eyes than me, gray-blue, and curled her lashes with a spoon. She liked telling me how pretty I'd be if I made an effort. One time in high school, I wore a red dress to a friend's birthday dinner. She told me, finally, like my body was just like hers back in the day. So when I say I believed my mom when she said she'd pay the rent, it wasn't because I'm naive. It's because I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe the side of her that could laugh loud and handle things. Last spring, she lost her job. She said it was office politics. I overheard one phone call with HR where she said, "Everyone takes long lunches. Why are you on me?" After that, she stayed home. At first, I gave her space. I told myself she deserved a break. She'd bounce back. Weeks turned into months. She slept in later. She started binge watching a show about people buying houses they couldn't afford. She'd pause the screen and say, "This kitchen is awful," like she had to weigh in. Meanwhile, rent still came due on the 3rd of the month, like it always did. We used to split it when she was working. After she got fired, I covered it while she looked for another job. She'd sit at the kitchen table with her laptop open to a job board and a tab with funny cat videos. If I asked how the search was going, she'd sigh. "It's rough out there," she'd say. "Did you apply to the cafe on Maple?" I'd ask. "They want someone who can work nights," she'd answer, which wasn't even true. I saw the listing. She'd say things like, "I can't just take any job," and then complain about how nobody gave her a chance. If I mentioned the late bills, she'd talk about the time she stayed up with me when I had the flu in 2nd grade, as if that fixed rent 10 years later. I had a vacation planned for June, 5 days in Florida with my friend Kayla and her cousin Liv. We bought flights months ahead, picked a cheap Airbnb near the beach, and made a color-coded grocery list for snacks because that's who we are. I wasn't running away from responsibility. I had 15 days of PTO, so I might as well use it. Rent was due on the 2nd day of my vacation. The day before my trip, I took out the rent money in cash because our landlord likes cash or a money order. I put it in a plain white envelope and wrote, "Rent, due 6/3" across the front in thick black marker so there was no confusion. Later this evening, I set it on the kitchen table in front of my mom while she scrolled on her phone. There was a pot of pasta steaming on the stove. The TV was on low. The apartment smelled like garlic and dryer sheets. "Here's the rent," I said. "It's due on the 3rd. I leave at 6 a.m., so can you please take it down to the office tomorrow? Or you can do the money order at the corner store. You know the drill." She looked up and smiled like I was being cute. "I'll handle it," she said. "Go enjoy your sunshine. Send me a picture of your toes in the sand." I tapped the envelope with my finger. "It's all there," I said. "Please pay it by the 3rd. Mr. Ruiz is strict about late fees." She rolled her eyes. "Sweetheart, I know how rent works." The next morning, I stopped at her room's door. She was half awake, smelling like leftover pizza. "Rent," I said gently. "Today." She waved her hand like I was shooing a fly. "I'll go after my coffee." Florida was Florida. Blue sky. Sand in your sandals no matter what. We walked to the beach early this morning, bought sunscreen again because we forgot ours, and ate overpriced watermelon in our swimsuits. I sent my mom a picture of my legs with my painted toenails in the sand and the ocean in the background. She sent a heart emoji and jealous. On the 2nd day, Kayla made eggs and Liv burned our toast twice. We played cards, laughed until our faces hurt, and fell asleep with the patio door open to the sound of waves and someone's late-night music 2 units over. On the 3rd day, I texted my mom at 10:27 a.m. "Everything good with rent?" She didn't answer. I figured she was napping or watching TV. I sent another, "Just checking." She finally sent back, "Yep, that was it. No period. Just, yep." I wanted to ask for a photo of the receipt, but I didn't. Part of me was tired of feeling like her officer. Part of me wanted to relax for once. We flew home on a Wednesday afternoon, took an Uber, and rolled my suitcase up the stairs to my apartment. I tried using my key, but it didn't turn. I jiggled it, tried again, and then saw the neon orange paper taped to my door. Lockout notice, non-payment. My name was typed in black, past due. The days to vacate had already passed. I took a deep breath that didn't fill my lungs and called my mom. She answered cheerful. "Hey, you're back. Why is there an eviction notice on our door?" I said. "Why doesn't my key work?" "Silence, and don't freak out. Did you pay the rent?" "Okay, first of all," she said, and I felt heat rise up my neck. "You don't need to take that tone with me. Did you pay the rent?" "I needed to use a little of it," she said. "I was going to fix it before you got back," she said. "But the office was closed and Mr. Ruiz is such a—" "Mom," I said, and my voice snapped, thin and sharp. "What did you spend the rent on?" "I don't have to explain myself to my child." "You literally do," I said. "I'm the one on the lease." She sighed hard into the phone. "You went on vacation," she said like an accusation. "You left me here with everything." I looked around at the 2 potted plants someone else had left to die and the old bike chained to the railing with a plastic bag over the seat. I felt this wave of something that was part anger, part grief. My entire body went cold from the inside. "Where are you?" I asked. "At Tina's," she said. "I didn't want to be there when you got all worked up. I knew you'd make a scene." "You mean when I found out we were evicted?" I said flat. "You're not listening to me," she said. "This is fixable." "It's not fixable," I said. "The lock has changed." I called Mr. Ruiz. He answered on the 3rd ring with a tired voice. "We posted the notice last week," he said. "We knocked 3 times. No answer. I called the number on file twice. No call back." "Did someone call this number?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "No voicemail set up." I looked at the screen. My voicemail was set up. My mom's phone was the one without a mailbox. I closed my eyes and breathed through my nose. "You can come tomorrow between 9 and 11 to get your belongings," he said. "After that, it goes into storage. There are fees." I slept on Kayla's couch that night. I was quiet in the car ride to her apartment while she kept glancing at me. She put a glass of water in my hand and told me to drink. I scrolled on my phone until my mom texted. I'm sorry you're upset. We can talk when you calm down. She texted again. Everyone is struggling. Maybe if you hadn't gone to Florida, this wouldn't have happened. I stared at that message for a long time. I typed 10 responses, deleted them, put my phone face down, picked it back up and posted a sentence on Facebook. I tried my best to hold things together for people I love. Sometimes your best isn't enough when you're the only one trying. No names, no details. I wasn't looking for a fight. I was trying to keep my own dignity. Within minutes, I got messages. A girl from high school. If you need a truck, my boyfriend has one. My old manager. I'm sorry. Let me know if you need a reference. My aunt, the only one who stays neutral, sent a heart emoji. My cousin wrote, I had a feeling. I stared at that number until the number stopped being numbers and just looked like dots. The next morning, I met Mr. Ruiz at the apartment with 2 friends and Kayla's boyfriend's truck. We had 2 hours. There's no neat way to pack up a life under a clock. We grabbed bags of clothes, dishes wrapped in t-shirts, framed photos stacked like pancakes. I found the white envelope I'd given her the day before my vacation in a junk drawer. No cash, just a curl of lint stuck to the inside. I put it in my pocket like evidence and then hated that I did that. My mom didn't show. At 10:57 a.m., Mr. Ruiz did a final walkthrough and said gently, I'm sorry. He wasn't the villain. He was doing his job. I wanted someone to be the villain so I could throw all this at them. Instead, it was just the slow truth that had always been true. My mom was not a reliable person to stand next to when the wind blew. That afternoon, I called 3 apartment complexes and heard the same line 3 times. With an eviction on your record, we can't approve you at this time. One lady told me, even with good income, no. Another said maybe in 12 months. The third said they need a cosigner and a deposit equal to 3 months rent. I didn't have a cosigner. I called 5 more. Same result. Later that night, my mom texted, people are messaging me about your post. It was unkind. You embarrassed me. I typed, you spent my rent money and got us evicted. She replied, I needed it. You don't understand what I'm going through. What she needed it for changed depending on who she spoke to. To me, she needed cash for something important. To my aunt, she needed to cover a bill. To Tina, she needed groceries. To a neighbor, she said, I forgot to leave it and ran off on vacation. That one got back to me through Kayla's hairdresser's sister. That's how small towns work, even when the town is actually medium. The next week felt like living underwater. I woke up early at Kayla's and logged into work at 8:59 a.m. sharp, tried to keep my camera off for meetings, tried not to cry when someone said, let's circle back, because it was such a normal phrase and my life felt like it was anything but normal right now. At lunch, I scrolled through apartment listings and called places. Most said no. One said, maybe, but we require an extra deposit. I went to see it. It was a studio with off-white walls and a window that looked at a brick wall. The building smelled like bleach and someone's barbecue. The manager said, we can rent to you with a deposit equal to 3 months rent, first and last too. When she said the number out loud, I felt dizzy. It was almost all the money I had left in savings after Florida and after buying a mattress. I asked if I could think about it for 24 hours. She said, of course, and slid a paper across the desk. At the bottom, it said, eviction in last 12 months, yes. I signed the lease and took the apartment. I moved in on Saturday with 3 friends. I bought a cheap rug and made a list for groceries and put it on the fridge with a magnet shaped like a pineapple. That night, I laid on the mattress on the floor and listened to my upstairs neighbor laugh. It felt like being in my own skin for the first time in months. A week later, I went to the animal shelter just to look. That's what I said until I met a gray tabby with white paws who pressed her face to the bars and meowed like she already knew me. I held her. She tucked her head under my chin. Not even 5 minutes later, I paid the adoption fee and carried her out in a cardboard carrier. I named her Whiskers. She hid under the bed for the first day, then followed me from room to room and slept on my chest every day since. I'd wake up at 2:30 in the morning and hear her cute meow and feel my heart loosen a little. I didn't see my mom for a while. Weeks went by. I heard through my aunt that she was staying with different friends, sometimes sleeping in her car. The part of me that still wanted to fix things twitched to that. I told myself I wasn't responsible for the path she chose, but I still left a bag of groceries at Tina's doorstep one time and didn't sign my name. I kept my distance because every time I got near, I wanted to run. She texted twice in July. Can you help me with something? And I'm in a tough spot. I didn't answer. In August, she called once and I let it go to voicemail. Her message was short. I'm sorry. In September, my aunt told me she'd gotten a part-time job at a diner off Route 7, the one with the neon sign that flickers. In October, she had full-time hours. In November, she moved into a small 1-bedroom on the far side of town. Time flew by, but also felt like it took forever. I didn't narrate her details because I wasn't there. That section of our story moved fast for me because I wasn't living it. I was working, buying cat litter, paying my bills on time, and putting the pieces of my own life back together. Then, December came, and I got a text on a Tuesday evening while I was stirring pasta in a small pot that's somehow always sticky. It said, I'm sorry for what I did. I want to see you. Coffee? I stared at the message for a long time. I typed no. I deleted it. I typed okay. I deleted that too. I ended up writing where. She sent the name of a diner, not the one she worked at, the one with red booths and a glass pie case by the register. We met on a Saturday at 11:02 a.m. I arrived 6 minutes early and sat in my car, palms sweating into the steering wheel. She walked up right on time wearing a clean coat and her hair pulled back neatly. No big sunglasses. She looked smaller than I remembered and older in a way that made my chest ache. We stood there for a beat and then went inside and sat near the window. The waitress asked what we wanted to drink. I said coffee. My mom said tea. The waitress brought creamers in a little wire basket and 2 packets of sugar. I remember stupid details because the big ones feel like too much to look at directly. I'm sorry, my mom said first thing, hands around her tea like she needed the heat. I messed up. She looked at me straight. No eye roll, no butt. I didn't say anything. I watched her face the way you watch a movie you've already seen once, waiting for the twist. I shouldn't have taken the rent money, she said. I shouldn't have lied. I shouldn't have blamed you. She took a breath. I was ashamed and I made it your problem. I said, yes. It came out softer than I meant it to. I'm working, she said. It's not glamorous, but I'm working. She told me she had a small place, cheaper than the one we had together, with stained carpet she covered up with throw rugs. She said she eats a lot of eggs and toast because it's cheap, and that when she drinks coffee at work it tastes like burned popcorn, but she drinks it anyway because it's hot and free. And she said she misses me. The waitress came back and asked if we wanted to order food. We ordered pancakes, both of us. When they came, we used the tiny cups of syrup, and I watched a line of it crawl down the side of my pancake stack right onto my eggs. She asked about my job. I said it was fine. She asked if I still talked to Kayla. I said yes. dress. She said she got my Christmas gift in a thrift store, then stopped herself and said, "Sorry, I didn't bring it. I didn't want it to feel like I was buying anything back." I nodded. We ate. We talked about safe things. We talked. The sugar packets by the napkin holder had little jokes on them. She read one out loud. "Why did the banana go to the doctor? It wasn't peeling well. It wasn't funny." She laughed anyway and covered her mouth with her hand like she used to when she wanted the laugh to look smaller. Halfway through, after a quiet stretch where we both watched the window instead of each other, she said, "Do you think you'd ever let me live with you again?" and smiled like it was a joke. I didn't smile back. My whole body froze before my brain did. I saw the orange paper. I heard the thunk of a changed lock. I felt the weight of a box in my arms and the sound of a clock ticking during a 2-hour window where everything I owned had to cross a threshold or be held hostage by fees. I saw her last text that said, "You embarrassed me." She saw my face and rushed, hands up. "I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I wouldn't ask that." She laughed again too fast and shook her head. "I know that's not funny. I'm sorry." She swallowed. "I wouldn't do that to you. I just want to be part of your life if you'll let me." If this was a movie, maybe I'd stand and hug her, and the music would swell, and then we'd cut to us cooking dinner in my tiny kitchen and her putting treats in her pocket for Whiskers. But this isn't a movie. This is life. And life after trust breaks is a slow thing. "I'm not ready to decide anything big," I said. "I can do coffee. I can do lunch sometimes." I took a breath. "I can't do bills together. I can't do leases. Not now." She nodded like she expected that answer and maybe practiced it alone. "I understand," she said. "I earned that. There are parts of this story that I haven't told because they're small and boring, like how I cried on the bus once because a certain cologne smelled like the hallway of our old building, or how I keep my rent receipt in a drawer every month now and look at it twice like it'll disappear if I don't, or how Whiskers now waits at the door when I get home and does a little chirp that's half meow, and sometimes the sound makes my throat hurt from love. There are parts that would make this cleaner if I said them. Like if I said my mom is a villain and ruined my life, but she didn't. She's a person who did bad things and then tried to fix some of them. She's also the lady who held a wet washcloth on my forehead when I had a fever and slept on the couch while I coughed, so she'd be near if I needed water. Both things are true. That makes this harder, not easier. After the diner, we started texting. Not every day, not even every week. Some, "How are you?" and I saw a cat video that looked like Whiskers. In January, she sent me a photo of her small living room with a thrift store lamp and a plant that looked like it was trying its best. In February, she asked if we could go to the farmer's market. We did. She bought carrots with the top still on and said, "These always look like cartoon vegetables." I bought bread and ate a piece walking to the car and thought, this is what cautious feels like. Once she said, "I'm sorry again," like she needed to top off the apology so it wouldn't run out. I said, "I hear you." She didn't ask to move in again. She didn't ask for money. She didn't blame me for my Facebook post even though she'd said earlier I embarrassed her. She asked about my work schedule and remembered the answer the next time we talked. Those are small things. They matter. I didn't ask what she spent the rent on. I don't know if that makes me weak or wise. I just know the list of details I can live with and the list that would keep me up at night, and I chose sleep. Some nights when my apartment is quiet and the only sound is the hum of the fridge and the soft snore of a cat with a tiny nose, I go back to that day in my head, the orange notice, the key that wouldn't turn, my mom's voice saying, "Don't take that tone." I let myself feel the anger because it's clean, and then I let it pass because it burns too hot to hold on to. What's left is something like sadness for the version of me who kept handing envelopes to people who couldn't hold them tight. There isn't a big court scene in this story. There isn't a police officer writing something in a book. No neighbor filming a meltdown. I lost a home and found another and paid a bigger deposit than I should have had to, and got a cat and learned to make pasta that doesn't stick if you salt the water first. I kept my job. I bought a rug that flattened out after a week. I built a life that fits me. My mom is in her little place on the far side of town. She wears a black polo to work and puts her hair up and brings home sore feet. She told me once on the phone that sometimes when a customer is cruel, she thinks of me and tries to be gentle to the next person to make the world tiny bit better because she can. I didn't reward her with a parade for saying that. I just said, "That's good," and meant it. If you came to me and said, "So what happened?" I'd say, "My mom promised to pay rent with the money I gave her. She didn't. We were evicted while I was away. She blamed me." I posted a vague sentence to keep my backbone from bending in half. I moved out and it was hard and then okay. I got a cat. She hit a bottom I didn't see, got a job and said sorry. We met. She made a joke about moving in and I froze. She said she was kidding. We're trying in small ways. That's the cleanest version. The messier truth is I am still deciding if the person she is now can be trusted with the parts of me that break if they're dropped. She says she's changed. I want to believe her. I also know change isn't the same as trust. Change is what you do. Trust is what happens when someone watches you do it for a long time. Would you trust her again?